And yeah, so it's Shane here from the iMoot team, and I just want to thank you all for joining us for another session at the iMoot. I hope it's all going well for everyone. Just want to introduce Alireza, who is from Iran, if I've got that correct, which is kind of exciting, getting someone from there, and presenting on Moodle and personality types. So I will hand over to you. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Shane, should I start? Because I didn't have your voice.
Yeah, sure, go for it. Yep, thank you.
To have you all here, and it's my pleasure. It is my first iMoot and actually my first online presentation. Today, I want to talk about Moodle. I have to turn the video off because of the bandwidth issues. And please let me know if the voice wasn't continuous and there would be choppy or something like that. Approach. So there is a question. What is your first impression? What is a word or a phrase that you can describe that impression? Please write it in the chat box. What is your first impression that you get by looking at this picture in a word or a phrase? Oh, yeah. It's a good thing to be a monkey. So that's a nice expression. Thank you. Um, I think you've all seen this. Okay, it is applicable to the education part as well. Uh, as I've done some research, I found that there are still some countries with teachers in their classroom think that they have to tools. But we all are agreed about different learners and different students in a classroom. I think you are all teachers. Do you want me to check? Okay, hello again. Hope it would solve the problem. Do you hear me now? Okay, thank God. Let's continue with it. I was talking about the picture and the educational system in some countries uh, now at the time that we are talking about it. Teachers would think that they can treat all the students in the same manner. They can assess them in the same manner, and all the other things that we do in our classrooms in only one way. So all of us know that it is not correct these days. We know that there are different learners in our classrooms, and we have to cater for different learners. I think you are all teachers, and you are aware of different learning styles and different teaching styles. When we talk about classrooms, when we design content for our classrooms, or when we plan our lessons, uh, we have to think about tailored lesson plans. But what happens in some of the classrooms is that they are tailored not for all of the students in the class, but for just part of them. Or the worst case is sometimes they are tailored only on basis of the teacher's differences. What happens here is that we can satisfy only the students who are the same regarding the differences with the teacher or with a very small part of students in the classroom. So there are some classes that are efficient. The teacher works efficiently in the classroom, and that's not because they are deliberating a method or a strategy, but that's just because they use a method that is tailored to the tailored on base of the differences of the learners. It can be consciously or not consciously, but in both manners, it is appreciated and it is good. But when we are talking about efficiency, uh, we have to say that uh, an awareness about the concept that I'm going to talk about it now it would be a great help for us and helps us to reach that goal, which is an efficient classroom in a more in a more easy and enjoyable way. That's where Moodle comes and starts to play an important role. Uh, I have experience of teaching English language. I'm also an IT expert and so a fan of psychology, but not all of it, just the part that's to analytical psychology. And was always to try to mix these things that I have some of these in it to mm, the process of learning and teaching more able and at the end more efficient learners and teach for both of them. Uh, that reason that when I first got introduced into Moodle, I decided that I can use this framework to apply the knowledge of type psychology and the applications of that concept. So I thought it gives us the opportunity to use that concept as an applied science using an education process. So we talked about them, but we did about what is type psychology. Now the quiz, do you have already any kind of information about psychology? Are you familiar with type psychology or the terms like MBTI or such things? Please type in the chat box if you are with the concept or not. Familiar with the type psychology or MBTI or any other terms? Uh-huh. That's a good thing, Shane. The media. Please. Mhm. So that's a good thing. For those who are familiar with the terms, do you think it's applicable to the teaching and learns us, make it more efficient? I mean, have any idea with Ed and Mary? So my question was for Ed and Mary, who said that they are familiar with MBI. Do you think that it is applicable to the process of teaching and learning to make it more efficient? You? Oh, thank you. Continue with it. For those who are not familiar, I just give you a little bit introduction to founders of the concept. Oh, good, Lindy. The first one, let me show. So this is Carl Gustav Jung, a Swiss psychiatrist and psychologist, who is the one with of analytical psychology first step. Then it turned into type C that we are talking about it. And after him, uh, an American mother and daughter called Edith Myers and Catherine Cook Briggs followed the concept, followed the theory, and long-term works and effort. They developed a questionnaire which helped people to decide about their type strategy, which I'm going to talk about. It is called MBTI, which is Myers-Briggs indicator now. Uh, so the like analytical psychology, psychological types, personality, and uh, some other phrases are all related to this theory. Jung Jung said that you can class people into different categories concerning uh, four categories. In theory, we have to consider like a dichotomy, two things. The first one is a dichotomy that you can see here about the source of energy. It says that uh, what source of energy, where do you get your and where do you want to spend your energy? So in this category, we have two different terms, extroversion and introversion. Uh, but the meaning of these words is different from the meaning you can find in English dictionaries. When you look up in a dictionary for version, you would find synonyms like an outgoing person, a friendly person, an active person, or like this. But what Jung was to say was that introverted people decide or they prefer to get their energy from the outside world. I mean the outside world of people, things, and even the activities that they do in the outer world. Uh, while the introverted people are the people who prefer at the first to get their energy from the inner world, which is the world of ideas, imagination, thinking, and like that. To state something here, in this presentation, I'm not going to teach you or give you a full information about the subject. Very huge subject, and if you are interested, hopefully at the end of the session, you have to as just a starting point, and start to learn about it from different sources. And I will talk about it at the end of the session. So it is what I say here, just a starting point about every content. Uh, uh, the next one is represented by E, as you can see here, and the introversion is represented by I here. The next dichotomy is about how you perceive things, how you perceive information, how you perceive data. Uh, you divided people into two terms like sensing, intuition here. Sensing people are the ones who prefer to perceive through their five senses, and the intuitive people are the people who decide or prefer the first to perceive things by their intuition. Sensing people, people who are called the here and now, they uh, they are concerned about what is now, and called factual people. Process information through their five senses, as I said, and these senses are the most reliable ways of getting data for them. While it's that intuitive people are the people of abilities. They're concerned about. They ask always what it could, what other can I do? I can do this thing. They are not here and now people, future people, and as they say, they can read between the lines. We can call sensing people concrete people and the intuitive people abstract thinkers. Uh, but as I said, this is just some very little information about the terms here. The next one, when you perceive the data and information, you have to do something with it. You have to decide about it. You have to and think about it, which is called the decision part. So in this dichotomy, Jung divided people in thinking and people. The first part, thinkers are the people who are fan of logic. They are always seeking for logic in perceived data information to make decisions, and as they decide by the uh, head at the step, while feeling people are the ones who decide on kind of personal or the values which are related to other people. So both of them are logical. The meaning of logic here is different. Uh, so thinking people are to make decisions on basis of the on basis of facts that they get from the situation, and, the situations on logic, and feeling people situations on basis of feelings and those kind of values. And the last dichotomy, which was added by that American daughter, uh, the lifestyle. And the reason that it is called lifestyle is because this is the part that other people can give you in that way. It means you do one of these ways in the outer part. The first one is judging, but again, because judging meaning of being judgmental here. So is the voice okay? Please write in the chat box if my voice is okay. Oh, I'm so worried about my voice, sorry. Okay. Okay, I try to speak more. Uh, uh, judging people and perceiving. The first one about judges are the ones who to make decisions about everything that happens to them. It is different from being told or something uh, negative because that as they say, judging people are the ones who decide to wrap up things immediately. They have to about something before going to another problem. They like order. They like organization. And being structured. They like to control everything, and they think sequentially. So that's some sentences that we can describe these kind of people with. Uh, the other one, nerds, are the people who they are more flexible. They don't like structures and they don't like being organized. It doesn't mean that they are unorganized, but they like to keep their options open. They want to be more flexible. They want to act spontaneously, and they want to be adaptable. So it is the matter of making a decision at the moment, or leave it for another time, but just for keeping the options open, not for uh, what they say as procrastination or like that. So the terms that we are talking about them here are all positive terms. Careful about that. So at the end, and by the questionnaire that that American Mother and Daughter developed, you can come with a four-letter type for yourself, like the types that you can see here. There are 16 personality types, or you can call them MBTI types. For example, and I end up being an INTJ type, like this, which there are some characteristics for this kind of people, but it is not that but it doesn't mean that you are only and only uh, this type of person and you can't have the characteristics related to other types. The good thing about type psychology is that in no way it says you are fixed and you can't do anything else. It says you can do or you can have other characteristics of other types, but you are actually talks about your strengths and stretches. It says you can act in some ways uh, more powerful than other ways, and you have to develop some abilities if you want to be more powerful in other ways as well. So, while we talk about these terms, talking about educational system, we have to talk about some domains related to educational system. In a classroom, educational system is a small one. You're concerned about communication, motivation. You have to give students assignments. You have to present the content in the classroom. You have to assess the student at the end. You have to treat different learners differently. You have to interact with different students. You have to interact with your students at the first step in order to make a report. And uh, in all, you have to motivate your students to get the most efficient classroom tend to. One of the fields that you can talk about is e-learning. At the first step, when they taught, so at the first step, when they talked about e-learning, good that you have it. Okay, talking about e-learning at the first step, it was just doing a type of content to learners, and the most positive thing about it was to make more people being able accessing the tools because they were online, and you could design a content and put them online. Okay, Meg. Put them online. The negative thing about it was that you couldn't design different. Uh, it was just like what happened in classic classrooms and the older education system. After that, they decided to design different types of contents and provide the learners with different contents. But because of there were no intelligence in those type of e-learning systems, it wasn't efficient enough. I'm just looking for a practical solution for injecting a kind of intelligence into that process. Then they reached a point that they could inject that kind of intelligence into e-learning process as well, and that was where the educational systems and educational e-learning systems come to the field. Moodle and other learning environments are good examples of how you could inject that intelligence into your teaching process. If you want to apply the things that we talked about in the type psychology into Moodle as one of the best frameworks for online and systems, we can talk about you can first talk about participation. You can remember about extroverted and introverted people. In a real classroom, introverted students are not tend to take part in different activities. They are called reluctant or shy students or like that, but it's not true. It's label or stereotyping for them. That's because they too do the activities alone or with one or two clients. But if the teacher doesn't have the knowledge, they differences or differences in biology, they are getting bored very, very easily, and they wouldn't take part in the learning process. So you use e-learning and systems like Moodle, the participation rate would be something very good for introverted students because you give them the opportunity to decide which part of the activity they want to take part and which they want to do it alone, do it with close friends, or things like that. It is good for extroverted people too, because but maybe you had some flavor to cater for the extroverted people as well, like running forums, asking them to do activities in forums, like chatting with other students or other learners, uh, do physical activity, and uh, uh, enter feedback and the results in the Moodle, and keep uh, keep the interaction for them as well. You, you know that design totally self Moodle, and that's the thing that only you can only find in e-learning systems like Moodle. You can design a course. You can suggest you suggest a timeline, but you don't students to do each activity on the given time, and you don't talk the pace. So that's why it is called a self e-learning process. It is good for judging people as perceivable. Judging people, as we talked about, this to be structured. They want to plan, and they want to that plan, want have a plan and follow it. So you as a teacher can plan structure, time structure, and give so they follow but for perceiving people, they don't want to be limited with a structure. So, uh, can give them the option of uh, uh, opting between different choices. They can set different for themselves. Regarding the instructions, it is related to sensing people and intuitive people. As we taught, sensing people are looking for clear instructions. They want step-by-step instructions. They need to the point and precise instructions. So in Moodle, as well as the real classroom, you can give them some instructions, very clear, neat, and to the point, and they are satisfied. For the intuitive people, they are not looking for a system instruction like sensing. They need to have the bigger at the first step. They want to know what they are going to do next. So by just uh, by just uh, something like a you can give both students what they want. Uh, you can use like a lesson activity, you can use it very easily. Design a method that you can get sensing people what they want, the intuitive people what they want, because you can guide them the lessons as well. It is customized. So one of the most important characteristics of an e-learning framework like Moodle is that you can customize it. So you know that when you give people options, you are doing exact uh, uh, as what they want. So it is important about motivating people. And talking about the cognition, the two middle letters in type code are related directly to your cognitive style. For example, if you are an intuitive person with a preference, it is your cognitive core. If you are a sensitive with a field preference, it is again your core. And people are different in this part. I talked about in the second dichotomy, we talked about how to perceive information, and in the third one, about how you decide or judge about that perceived data. So it is about cognitive core. About the engagement, which is so important when we're talking about motivation, when you give them the options, when you provide them with what they want, even if they don't want the concept, they are engaged. And you know, in process and in designing courses, one of the most important things that you have considered is to engage people, keep them on during the course. The course design, I think all of the things that taught is related to the course design as well, and the lessons we talk about to us. It is endless. We can talk about different fields in the e-learning part, different parts of Moodle uh, for for a long time. I can talk about type psychology in only one session because at least it takes I think more than 8 hours to just out preliminary and the basic terms to the concept. And after that, you have to read other sources to get the idea as it is needed. But what I want to say is that it is applicable, and if you use it, you will see the results, and automatically you would continue using it. Real classrooms as well as online courses. I hope I could convince you that even have a look at the contents related to the type psychology would a lot, and after that using and applying the concept to the e-learning process and the courses would help you a lot regarding the motivation and engagement and participation of your students as well. Uh, about your question, Shane, I think you can apply the concept to both your real classrooms as well as the online courses. Both are the same in this situation. I think if you apply if you have the knowledge and you apply it to the learning process, there's no difference if you are teaching in a class, in a physical classroom, in a real classroom, or you are designing an online course. I have tested both, and I was so amazed by the results. Yes, we are using the MBTI, but I have to state that we are not so focused on the questionnaire itself because, as they say, the questionnaire part is not so important uh, as the knowledge, as your decision about your type is. Um, in our workshops, after the participants taking part in the questionnaire. I don't want to call it a test because it is not a test, it's just a questionnaire, or it's an indicator. After the indicator results, you are free to change any preferences in your type code. And it happens when the coach or the trainer there explains about different preferences, and you look inside yourself and you look for the characteristics that uh, uh, you prefer inside you. Um, so I think the knowledge is well to the point. Mary, I agree with you after the all side part. I agree with you, Shane. That's exactly as what I talked about as a positive part in Moodle. Good point, Mary. That's a very good book and very good talk on TED too. For more information about the MBTI or the type psychology, you can use these website as well, capt.org and cpp. Dot, I'm not sure if it is nets or com or org, but you can search CPP related to the MBTI and the Myers-Briggs.org as well. I will provide the websites in my presentation course, and you can follow up if you would like. Mary, how did you come to understand MBTI in this context? Oh, what do you mean by how did I come to understand MBTI in this context? The first time I got introduced to the type psychology, something inside me sparked, and I thought that I can use it in education. And after doing some research, I found that there are other peoples who have the same idea, and they started working on this field. And so tested it. I got the results. It worked for me, for my children, for myself, for my wife, for my family, and for my friends as well. And now we are using all over the organization. I'm using it in my workplace, in my social relationships, and other fields. Thank you, Mary. All of us are gifted, as the type psychologist says. Uh, every type that you are gives you some strengths and some stretches. Both are good. If you are aware of your strengths, you can amplify them. You can make them in a right way, use them in a right way. And if you are aware about your stretches, you can do something about them. And so both part of are. That's a good website too, but just I want to state that be careful about the materials on the. So Human Metrics is one of the websites regarding, but there are other websites which are not reliable, and you have to be very careful because the concept is somehow dangerous too. It's just like a knife. You can use it in a correct way, in a right way, or a wrong way. Um, and I say, starting with native knowledge in this field would be dangerous for you and for the other people around you as well. So be careful about using different content on it. The websites that I introduced are the original um, owners of the theory, and so they are available. Thank you for your time, and I hope make it that you start the concept in your class as well as your online course. If you have any other questions. This is course. Natalie?
Hi, thank you very much for that really interesting presentation, which I half missed because I was out. So I'm really looking forward to listening to the recording. I'm doing a similar tonight if you haven't seen it on the program. I'd really like to have a much longer conversation with you because that's been something I've been researching for a few years now. And the next stage that I've got to with it is I started off looking at Bartle player types. Have you ever heard of that?
Sorry, I don't have your voice clearly.
I was wondering if you've ever heard of the Bartle player types. It's a gaming design framework of player personality types. Well, not personality types, player types. Can't hear me very well. Maybe we'll catch up another day because I'm sure that we'd have lots to talk about.
Sorry, I don't have your voice clearly. I had my email here. You send me an email or
I've set up
a message
meeting.
inside.
Yeah, I'm very interested in topics, so I'll send you a message.
It is about my full line, but I would be very happy thinking about the concept with each of you. This is my, and also you can send me messages inside the iMoot website. And thank you again for your participation. Okay, Natalie, I'll be waiting for your email.
I'll just jump in and just say thank you, Alireza, for your presentation and for the discussion there that's happening. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you for being here.